Welcome to Let's Talk About Health, an informational podcast that gives you insights on health and fitness from experts themselves that you can apply directly to your own personal health and fitness stories. Come join me today to hear all about what they have to say on health and fitness. Hello.
There you are.
Yeah, it just sometimes causes a little trouble while joining in.
Gotcha. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I know you've been working, and thank you so much for taking the time out and just speaking with me today.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks for my wife for letting me do that too.
100%. We
Yeah.
all need that support and the encouragement.
Yes, I agree. Best. She's always
Uh,
taking care of the kids and supporting us. She's awesome.
oh, really? Are they in bed? What are they doing? Oh, but it's
Uh,
too early out there.
oh yeah, 6. So they're eating right now, probably. I would imagine. Layla and Eliana. So 9 months.
Daughters?
Yeah, 9 months and 2 and 9 months.
Wow. I'm gonna need some pictures after the session.
Yeah, no, they're super cute.
I can imagine. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out and just speaking with me today. So I would like to welcome Eric here today, William Eric. Yeah, I am so happy to be speaking with a chiropractor today. We all know how chiro is evolving and growing every single day. The studies, the research, just the techniques, the hands-on, everything is so evolving, and it's a huge pleasure to be speaking with you today. So
yeah.
thank you.
Here. It's fun talking about health and giving it a platform. No, it's I like what you're doing. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's dive in. My first and my favorite question is, what according to you is health and fitness?
Oh, so I've always from a very young age always been into sports. So from 6 I started playing tennis, and that's been what I've been best at, but I've played everything. Like I was been basketball, baseball, soccer, archery, just like a bunch of different sports, like even bowling league. I know, whatever, but track and field. But it's always been a big part of my life, and so health and sports activity has always been big for me, and so I'm happy that it's that's a part of my life, a big portion of my life. Taking care of people within that field is a big thing for me.
How did you get attracted to, I know you're all in for sports and fitness. How did you get attracted to health and medicine?
So when I was in high school, I had an injury. I played tennis and basketball in high school. I narrowed it down to 2, and during tennis season, I went up for a serve and I heard a pop, and a lot of different doctors I went to were saying surgery because I couldn't lift my arm past here, and I didn't really like that answer because I was so young, and I was like, I've seen shoulder surgeries go bad, and like I've seen like my friends' dads like have like no mobility at all, and I know technology has gotten better and everything like that, but I was like, I want to try my hand at like the natural stuff first, and so then I went to a bunch of different chiropractors, and they just kept on adjusting my clavicle over and over, and they said that there was like nothing else that they could do, and I was like, that doesn't seem right, and so that didn't seem like a good enough answer for me. So when my coach then said, well, why don't you go see this guy? he does a little bit of different technique, and he looks at the body in these different planes. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I go in, and I didn't know what to expect, but he does the technique that I do now, and within 3 visits I was out playing again. So it was super cool, and just how impactful that was to me was just immeasurable, because I went on to play in college, and so it really set me on a path that with fitness and wellness. So and that made me want to do it for others. So
Definitely. I can imagine. I have so many patients of mine who are dancers, who come from background of sports, fitness. They have done gymnastics. They were ballet dancers. So there's always a sportsmanship in them. They never quit.
yes,
And we were just talking about what drove me towards orthopedics a
right,
while back. That is one of the reasons I love about sports, is that you want even if you don't want to win, you want to play the game. You just want to participate, and that's huge in rehab, in recovery. That's a huge role, and
definitely.
you trying to get better for yourself, or you knew better as a kid, like to not opt for surgery, to do uh try to recover on your own. So I'm so glad that it led you to going to a chiro, and you fell in love with that field, that you started practicing
Yeah,
it.
me too. Yeah, I couldn't imagine if what would have happened. I life would have been way different. Way different. Would have gone for it with that surgery. So I'm happy that I made the decision I did too, because I feel like I don't work at when I go to work, I feel like I'm just having fun. Like I'm not,
Yeah,
and I just happen to get paid for it. So
true. Trust me, I feel the same way every single day.
yeah,
That's why the commute, all the back pain, everything is worth it.
yeah, you talked about that before.
Yeah. I think I need a chiro too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think everybody can do with one, as well
Uh,
as physical therapist.
yeah, I need to find a flight ticket to come see you, get my
That's,
back fixed.
yeah, we could do a collab, do a video on an appointment or something. Be
Yeah,
good.
100%.
Yeah.
Talking about video appointments, what do you think about telehealth?
Telehealth, I think there's definitely a place, and there's in the technique that I do, it's called applied kinesiology. There's surrogate testing. So like the easiest example I can give you is so like a mother and a baby. So like I can't arm test a baby, right? But like if the mom is holding the baby, then I can point to the baby and then find the spots that need to be treated on the baby. So that's also possible from states away.
That
So
could be possible. Yeah, like different. I wouldn't say complete treatment, but definitely a part of assessment and tests, and
yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
evaluation. A part of evaluation can be done through telehealth. I like that idea, and it's growing a lot. Even in physical therapy, people have been, especially COVID, taught us.
Yeah, I mean, like people that can't get out of their homes, and they want to do, like, they still need the supervision. Like you could still be engaged and watch the person like do the exercises, whether doing it right or not. That makes sense to me for sure.
You mentioned about applied kinesiology. Can you tell me more about your technique, and how did you discover that method altogether?
So the guy that treated me was my first exposure to it, and then I went to undergrad in Point Loma Nazarene University, and I studied exercise science there, and then I went to chiropractic school, and in conjunction with chiropractic school, there was a seminar that was taught by Bruce Shin. He's one of my mentors, and I took his class 5 times, and it's a 100-hour course. And he just kept on having these like little nuggets in there, and that's what kept on making me want to go back and master it. But there's 3 different planes in the technique that the body's evaluated on. So there's structure, chemical, and then emotional. And like structure would be like, you know, the muscles, ligaments, joints,
Anatomy.
right, yeah. And then chemical is like anything you ingest, so like anything you like eat, breathe, like creams, or anything your body will absorb through eating, or like I said, through the skin. And then the third one's emotional. There's 2 halves of the brain. There's the rational side, irrational side. Rational side's aware of like social norms, how long it takes to get over things, stuff like that. The irrational side has no concept of time and is only aware of you. So anything that happened to you from like when you were in mom till now can affect you. And so any like long lasting, like, you know, like say you go to, I don't know, say you have this long lasting injury. Oh, here you go. The best example of like an emotional issue is like a car accident. So right. Like so say you're getting a rear end accident, right? Most people, when they come to a stop and they're like they like get like jittery and they're constantly checking the rearview mirror, right? After the accident. Well, that's an emotional response, right? Because your body doesn't want that to happen to you again.
Right.
And that's a subconscious thing. You're not actively thinking about that, right? But your subconscious is running wild in the background. So one of the techniques within applied kinesiology is injury recall. And so I would have you play the accident in your mind like an instant replay, and then get you in the position. And I was like, okay, tell me about the accident. You tell me what happens, and then tell me when the impact is. And then you're like, okay, now. And then you get this effect, this very, very like relieving feeling. And it's like you finally like just like, and it's done. And then so that's I enjoy personal injury cases, because that's one of the first things I do, and normally they're like a lot better afterwards. And I'm like, okay, what else do you want to work on? Like, so.
Well, wouldn't the patients be scared or they traumatized after the accident?
So that's part of it. So you want the emotional response to get out of there. Like so another good example of one of my favorite stories of this. So I had a patient. She's like brainiac. Like she's a what is she? She works for like high end company like Boeing, and she's doing the job of like 5 people, and so she's like on all the time. And she had an accident. I didn't know this part at the time. All I knew were her symptoms when I saw her, but she had an accident on the ice. So she slipped and fell and hit her head on the back of the ice, or back of her head on the ice. And ever since, her function went from like the work of 5 people to 2. And like for anyone that would be good, but for her that's not acceptable. Mm-hmm. And plus she was getting these like head splitting migraines like from the back, like occipital, and they made it so like she couldn't really see, and she would just like have to be in a dark room, and it was terrible. And so I was in a clinic at the time, Athletes Advantage in Garden Grove. I wasn't yet out of chiropractic school. It was part of my like rotation rounds or whatever. And so I was a little nervous because I didn't know how they would react to like me saying, hey, I'm pretty sure I think this patient's like emotionally based, because that's not really heard of, right? And so So I told the head clinician, like, hey, I'm pretty sure that there's an emotional connection to why she's having these problems. And then he's like, well, I mean, we're not making progress, so sure, like, go ahead. And so I was like, all right. So I take my shot, and I do my evaluation, and I'm like, all right, so what? So you can find an age range of like where the accident was, and I hit the age range, and then she's like, oh, that's when I fell. I was like, what do you mean when you fell? And then she goes, I fell on the ice. And so I was like, all right, well, what happened surrounding that? Like, and she, well, there were children around, and so like when I fell, I didn't scream or anything. I just like tensed and like held all of that within me. And I was like, oh, well, that's why you're having this. And so, so like have her sit on the table, and then I go and I say, like, picture like being in that moment and let me adjust you. And then so I did. And so it's the middle of summer, and she starts shivering on the table. And because she goes back to that moment of not being able to emote.
Right.
And you giving her that place to emote freed her from her pain, and their pain greatly reduced. It was fantastic. Like,
the emotional component plays a huge role.
mm-hmm.
I have a patient. She had a double hip surgery. She has a history of osteoporosis. So she underwent a double hip surgery because of a fracture.
Yeah.
And I had been seeing her for 4 months after her surgery. She's doing amazing, great progress. She was in her 50s, 60s. So amazing progress that, she's doing so many things and effortlessly with 5 pounds, 7 pounds of weight, doing all squats and lunges perfectly.
Yeah.
One day she comes up to me and she's like, Bhavna, I'm just feeling a big strain and soreness in my thigh, in my quadriceps. We do the soreness protocol, we do rest, we do icing, we do everything, we do a lot of stretching. I'm like, we're doing everything. We're literally going above and beyond to cure the soreness. Why is the soreness not going away? I sit down with her one day and I'm like, hey, what's bothering you? You look a little tense. And she's like, I've been depressed because I'm unable to do a certain things.
Yeah.
I used to go dancing, I used to do gardening, and I enjoyed the simple pleasure of just going outside doing gardening. So I was like, there you go. I think, we're doing it. I went outside, I got a gardening kit. I made a whole exercise protocol for her just so we could do gardening. 2 seconds and she's back. She's stronger than ever.
Nice.
Jumping, she's running, not depressed anymore, and there's no soreness. I'm like, this is magic. But we forget that the mind is also a part of this very body, and we have to focus on that as well.
Yeah, where the mind goes, the body will follow. So
definitely. that was really amazing, and ever since then I have started to be a little more cautious about. I wouldn't say I wasn't cautious. I was always, I love talking. I'm the chit chatty person with all the Indian snacks, and we'll make some green tea or we'll get some coffee, and we're first chit chatting and getting to know each other, and then we'll start doing exercises. Cool. I feel that after that case, I realized more that how important it is to add on the stress and the tension that comes from the mental fitness aspect.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool that you found that just through practicing. That's awesome.
Yeah, hands-on practice has taught me a lot. Just the touch, the feel can tell where the body's tension is, where the knots are forming. And just with the play, I'm also a lymphatic therapist. So just by,
beautiful.
just by the soft play of your hands and just by your touch, it can also release it. So I've been learning that as well. How has your hands-on practice and experience been?
Oh, it's been great. you mentioning the lymphatic system gives me so much hope, because like in school and stuff, it's so skimmed over, like almost important, and it could not be any further from the truth. I think it's such a undervalued system that, I mean, it only moves with muscle contraction, so it's like, well, duh, exercise is important. So like, you know, like and the fact that that's not like one of the number one like things to talk about, like why we should move, is like beyond like comprehension to me. It's like we don't want to move the garbage system of our body out of us by doing muscle contraction. Like, come on, like that seems like, you know, right there, right? I don't know.
I love the way you just put it. It's exactly what it is, but no one has ever put it that way. Trust me, in our textbooks, we just have one paragraph this big.
Yes, right? Like, why? It's
That's
so
it.
zero sense.
When I joined the workshop and I was they were telling us about the anatomy, the physiology about lymphatics, and I was like, wait, is it the same lymph and lymphatics that we never even touched about?
Right. Right. Yes. Like,
And
oh man.
it's such a huge role in oncology, such a big role.
Yes.
Cancer, like people don't want to talk about it. There is no awareness. There is no lymphatic treatment even in India. I've been working on that, and I'm trying to train myself to be a teacher and try to learn the techniques and teach it to them back home. So I'm really trying to implement that lymphatic parts in India, but yeah, it's very new, it's very unaware, and people just don't want to accept it as a part of the body.
So right, and like, I'm sure you know, but like the right side, how it just drains the right arm, and then the head and neck, like that by itself is like, and then left responsible for the rest of the body. Like, come on.
Yeah, it blew my mind too.
Yeah.
And there are just notes. How does it just flow in one direction? Like,
right.
Yeah, you know, I was so amazed by this new system. I bugged off the person who was teaching who was taking the session. They were like, okay, why don't you just, uh, write down all your questions and email it to us? Because we're still new, we're still researching. Maybe this could be the next topic for our research. I'm like, okay, like I couldn't imagine not even having answers, and that's what makes it more exciting.
Right. Definitely. Yeah.
Do you see a lot of lymphatics?
Yeah. So a lot of lymphatic drainage. I mean, one of my popular videos is the ear adjustment one.
Yeah.
Helps to drain the sinuses and stuff, cold lymph. And so a lot of that, I mean, it can affect like the hormones, like, so women that are sedentary, or it can affect women's hormones, and it can make periods worse, and like just stuff like that, where you don't think about it, but that's the system that you're playing off of. Oh yeah, Lynn. Hi, Lynn. You're awesome. Sorry, I saw her comment.
No, I love that.
Yeah, she's awesome. I always like seeing her. She always supports me. So she's
very nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us tonight, Lynn. I love that.
Yeah, but yeah, and how it has a huge play with the diaphragm as well. Like the neurolymphatic for the diaphragm is similar to the thymus, and like, because it's right behind there, and so rubbing the sternum, it can free up that lymphatic pathway, which I don't know.
Definitely. You're welcome, Lynn. You're most welcome. But I agree with you. There were so many topics, like the anatomy was not even sure. And I think, if I'm not wrong, there are still ways that they're trying to find out the lymphatic anatomy
Right.
and more about how the lymphangiome works with the muscle pumping, and is there any other techniques, or the internal system, how strong the internal system has lymphatics. So there's a lot of research going on, and I'm really excited to see how that leads us to different doors of I also feel like you mentioned that muscle pumping helps with the lymphatic drainage. I know exercise plays a huge role, but I want to see how better we can do by combining physical therapy, exercise science, and lymphatics in
Yeah.
that.
It's a huge topic, and it's a huge way to make people better that I don't think is talked about enough, like we just said. But yeah, and you're trying to play with that in your practice.
Sometimes I don't come across a lot of patients because, again, there's not a lot of awareness.
Mm.
Uh, there were people that were sitting. I think I was at the driving. I was trying to get my driver's license, and I happened to come across a lady, and I saw the symptoms of lymphedema. So I just happened to have a conversation, and she's like, "What? Do I have lymph what?" And then I had to sit and explain to her. So there's still a lot of awareness, and her history was very prominent because she had a mastectomy. So it
Oh,
was just a year back, and all the signs, symptoms led to it. And I suggested her to go see a lymphatic therapist, but there were not a lot of therapists in her area, and I couldn't help her more because I didn't know anyone around my area, and I work all the way in New York, and that is impossible for her to get every single time. So I
mm,
tried showing her a few techniques that she could do, a few exercises. Nothing perfect, but definitely something that could help her. And small changes, small awareness, just talking a little bit more. We had a session on cancer and lymphedema. I am planning to come up with a week of just to dedicate cancer, the fatigue with that comes with cancer, and the lymphedema that
yeah.
comes with it. So we're working on it.
Are you going to tie it into the liver too?
The liver?
The P450 pathway in the liver?
Well, um, I'm not too sure. I haven't thought about the details too much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just coming up with a few ideas like we were discussing earlier.
Cool. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I'm excited. Let's see where it leads, and definitely it's gonna lead someplace good, and it's already helping people, be aware about so many things.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's amazing how big of an effect it can have, and it'd be great to have a bigger vehicle to address lymph.
Right.
Yeah, it's not addressed enough.
I I love that we just sidetracked from the whole Chiro thing.
Well, it's
But
I mean, if you hit L2,
just
there's a huge lymph pocket there, and it
yeah,
can help the whole thing. So
yeah, I love that. What misconceptions do you come across in your field, or even with lymphatics? Talking about lymphatics, what are a few misconceptions that you come across?
um, that I only deal with the spine. That's the most common misconception. It's like anywhere there's a joint, you can move it. So I mean, it's and one of the most mind-boggling things is that why I don't understand is most chiropractors don't address the feet at all. And I think that it's like where a lot of the problems start because we walk on them all the time. And
Correct.
I almost always start there with the feet. And it's just, and like when I do it on a lot of my new patients that come in, they're like, I've never had anybody address my feet before. I'm like, I mean, it's part of what I do. So if the feet are off, the low back could be off, and then the neck can be off. So it's, you know, your body will do anything to keep your eyes in line with the horizon. So like if your low back is off and you're walking in like this, it's going to turn your head this way. So to keep it level, you know. So like if that's not level because your foot's off, then you know what I mean. So that's I view it from that level versus just spine. So
I definitely agree with you, because even in PT school, we're taught about the effects of what flat foot has on the whole spine, all up to your head. Just flat foot can cause so much of tilt in your ankle, causing genu valgum, genu varum, in your knees, hip tilt, anterior pelvic tilt, posterior pelvic tilt, affecting lordosis all the way to your spine, and then headaches.
yeah, and funnily enough, I mentioned before, but in the technique that I do, each muscle in the body is related to an organ. So the muscle that supports the arch of the foot that would create the flat foot. Well, were you talking like structurally flat foot or the other?
Structurally, being a PT.
Right. But like if it's if you have a fallen arch, that's
Right.
not stress, because that muscle is the tib posterior is related to stress or the adrenal glands. So fun
I
fact.
did not know that.
Yeah, so then that can cause the navicular to drop, and then which then causes the calcaneus to move back, and then you can have your fancy plantar fasciitis going on.
Right.
So
I see a lot of patients with plantar fasciitis. A lot. Any suggestions or tricks, tips that you would
so
suggest?
for you, what you could do, good night, Eliana, I love you. That's my wife.
Nice
So
to meet you.
so for you, you can do mobilization, right?
Right.
So you have the patient prone, and then whichever foot it is, so let's say it's the right foot, you would use the right hand to cup underneath like this, and you'd back up here, and you would place it on and just gently like tap. Or you have an arthrostem?
No.
It's like a little, do I have it in here? It's like a little gun, but it's like a
Like a massage gun?
kinda. It's a little bit more specific, but I would say that would probably be better. The arthrostem, because I think you could use that.
So we do, like you said, I do the mobilization, the anterior mobilization, and I like to give internal, external a little bit. Just check the mobility in general. And with plantar fasciitis, usually the fascia is super tight. Talking about like the structural part aspect of it. So I would use the gun definitely, and the massage gun is usually round. So, but there are different caps to it. So I use the one with the flat.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
has a flat lid or a cap, and that, I don't know, it's difficult to explain. It has a few plateaus on it, so
Right.
I use a flat one, and I use that for all of the body, because I have seen people go so aggressive with the gun just for the feel of it that it has caused bruising.
Oh yeah. It's definitely possible.
That's not what PT is about. I'm like,
Oh,
that's you're harming, and you should like stop. You should not do it. So I like the flat one, and flat, you can go on all surfaces, even the round ones. It's easier to go on them because it's round and flat. So I like to use the flat surface, and definitely the tennis ball.
Yeah.
Patient puts on their own weight, their own force and strength over the ball and actually release it.
So the part of the technique we do as well is for muscle relaxing and stuff. If you hit the beginning and the end of the muscle, it will relax. And so, like if you hit the beginning and end of the tibialis posterior, it'll regain the arch. So that was another.
Would you call that as stretching?
What do you mean?
Like, so when we stretch, suppose the tibialis or the calf muscles,
So it would, you would go into the foot and
right.
like right into here, and you would go at it until you feel the knot finally release, and then go up to up into the calf, and then go into there. And that would help reset the muscle. Stretching after that would probably work, but I would do the soft tissue first, and then
correct. The trigger release.
yes. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, we call it the trigger release. There are nodules or trigger points.
Yes.
And to release. Right. Got it. Got it. Yeah, that's.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It. No,
Sometimes,
please.
sometimes if you stretch a knot, it'll just tighten. Versus like if you stretch some of the knots, they release. But.
Yeah. Well, you were telling me more about the relationship or the correlationship between the organs and the muscles. Can you tell me a little bit more? Because that's very exciting.
Right? Yeah, no, it's so like the deltoid is related to the lungs, and there's the rotator cuff is related to a bunch of different important muscles. So like subscap is related to the heart, and yeah, so a lot of shoulder weakness can be, well, emotionally speaking.
I would imagine pectoralis being
pectoralis. So the sternal divisions related to the liver, and the clavicular divisions related to the stomach. So
the stomach really that low?
Yeah, so like and temporalis is also related to stomach. So if you have low stomach acid, you can get these here. So
yeah, I've heard that a lot of acidity can cause you a little bit of headache or heaviness in your head.
mm-hmm.
Right. That makes sense, but I never imagined that the organs that are so low would be connected to the muscles that are so up high.
Right. It plays off of the acupuncture system a little bit, and so like how the meridians are, and so like that's part of what we play with, and so that organ relation is really cool and fun to play with, and then each organ has its own set of emotions that go with it, and so
that's very interesting to know. Honestly, this has been so informative that I have been surprised, and I never knew about all of this. I love it.
yeah, I think the technique that I do, applied kinesiology, doesn't get enough of a platform, and so that's been my whole thing of why I even wanted to join social media business wise, because I wanted to give it a place, because I feel like nobody knows that like that's offered, and so that's one of the main things that I wanted to accomplish, and so I appreciate you giving me the space to do that.
Definitely. I'm so happy that we connected and we have this platform to talk more about and connect with people who have a like interest and so much love for health and fitness.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's fun being able to help people achieve what they want to with their health and fitness, and like I'm sure you see it as well, like people coming off of whatever injuries or surgeries where they're like, I just need to get back here, and then you're like, well, like baby steps, you
Yeah,
know.
I know. I have to tell them to be more. I'm not a very patient person in general, but there are times when I have to be like, okay, guys, you are being very impatient. We gotta be patient. And they're like, you are saying that? Yeah, they're shocking sometimes, but it's fun. I like that they're so enthusiastic. It helps them push.
Right. You mentioned something briefly where you designed a gardening routine to help her. And so does that mean that you go into their homes and stuff?
No, so I brought a kit and we had a set. The kit that kids have, the
Uh-huh.
gardening kit, like the
Yeah.
plastic toys.
That's awesome. That's
But
fantastic.
but we added weights around the wrist, ankles, around the knees, and we loaded her with like bands, and we brought like flowers. Way too dramatic. We can be dramatic sometimes.
That's okay. That's like fun.
We got like we usually get some flowers sometimes, just to make the place cheery, just our setup cheery. So we got the flowers in a pot, and we told her, come on, let's just start putting the weights or the pots from here, do sit-ups, go all the way, kneel all the way to the ground, stand up, come give me the pot, and just the routine, just do your routine. But I loaded her with a lot of weights, and I just gave her toy equipments, plastic toys to play around with. So it was funny and very very cool too.
Yeah, no, I bet she appreciated that. That's awesome.
God, she was not depressed anymore, and she's doing well. So definitely, she's one of my closest people that now I have, and she's like a mental therapist to me. We're like each other's therapist. I'm her physical therapist. She's my mental therapist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. That's
yeah,
awesome.
that's funny. Then we also have a lot of dance routines because I see a lot of Spanish patients and they love dancing. They love their salsa. So we put on nice bachata, salsa music, and we'll give them counts, we'll give them steps, we'll have a routine, and we'll do group therapy. So it's fun.
Nice. Wow, that's really cool.
We try to keep it because I feel like if I am bored, I everyone will be bored to death. So I have to keep myself entertained. I'm like, okay, let's do things today.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today we had the ladder routine. Actually, just today this morning, we have a lot of patients who are progressing well. So they wanted, we were doing agility training, and
Oh,
speed, agility, precision. So we brought out the whole ladder and we killed it. We
nice. It was a hit, huh?
Yeah. Usually Thursdays, Fridays are my favorite days because I don't see them the weekend and they get to rest. So I make sure that they are having a very deadly routine on Thursdays and Fridays.
Definitely. That's great.
Yeah, I love it.
That sounds like you have fun over there. That's good.
Oh yeah, definitely. And they're so kind. They're such loving people, accepting people that they make my job so much fun, and watching them do so well makes the whole thing better, you know?
That yeah, no, I feel the same. My patients, because my appointments are normally a half hour, and you probably spend a lot of time with your patients too, but I feel like I get to know them really well, and it just I want to have a relationship with them. I don't want to just be like, all right, see you later, bye, and it gives a better care to the patient, I feel, if you have something invested, so
Yeah, we cannot, I cannot be a very robotic way. Like I know, and trust me, New York is all about being having no feelings, just hustling, just okay, quick, let's go. But I'm like, okay, no, I cannot. If I'm not invested, then I'm not happy, and I can't. If I'm not happy, I can't work. I will hate that work, and I have been in places that I work that I really hated the very job that I'm doing right now because
Oh,
environment or because of the people that were not very kind, and they were just they didn't like, they were just very racist, to be honest.
wow, really?
Yes, definitely.
That,
So New York can be like that sometimes, but you gotta charm it. You gotta, show that okay, I'm not here to quit, and I'm gonna be happy even if you don't want me to. So
right, right. Yeah, yeah. It takes way more energy to be negative, which I don't know why people choose to do that. It's like, why not why don't we just be positive and like affect each other in the positive way?
yeah,
And if you are feeling that negativity, like, don't try to bring somebody down. Try to have like people help you.
correct. You should always be uplifting. We live in a society that has forgotten what it means to uplift one another. So I feel sad sometimes, but I think we also need to rectify it. We also need to be the change that we wish to see.
Definitely,
So
definitely.
just us connecting here today, already we're doing something, we're making a little bit of difference in the society. So I love that.
Yeah. No, yeah, the fact that you have the courage to put this on is super cool, and I admire that.
Thank you. It really, really means a lot to me. Thank you. What would you suggest, or what would your advice be to people who are looking up to become chiropractors in the field, and if they want to start their own business, what should they do?
Um, what should you do? Pick pick a joint that's not the spine that you are that you are a master of. I love the shoulder. I it's I love it. And it's the most complicated one.
Right.
Why I love it, that there's so much stuff that can go wrong. I mean, like, you can have a swallowing muscle that can affect the shoulder, and like all the rest of them can be firing, but the omohyoid is the one that's throwing it all off. Like, like, and so I dove into the shoulder and I love it, and I love my overhead athletes, and that gives you a whole niche to follow, or a population, um, um, a whole different population that you can tap into. Like, athletes are
I'm unable to hear you. I apologize. I-
somebody was athletes are the easiest population to tap into, probably because they care about their health enough to pursue it, and so they're not hard to convince versus like the couch potato or the truck driver, or but even that, if you find the niche there. I knew there's a guy in San Diego that I followed for a while, and his like main thing was doing physicals for truck drivers. I was like, all these guys would come in, and he would have this whole system where he would perform the physical for them so that they could work. And so it's like, I didn't even think about that's possible. But then he would get a lot of his referrals off of that. So I was like, that's such a, you know, something I wouldn't think about, but like that's possible within the field, you know? So there's definitely niches that aren't tapped that you can, like, if you have experience in that sport, like say dance, you could be that dance chiropractor, you could be that whatever chiropractor, whatever skill. I mean, I'm sure like archery, you know, like that would be something that would be very finesse. That's like very, you know, like whatever that is. So I would say that is that find something like not just the spine and like not just like obviously you want to master that, but like you want to find something that like sets you apart. That's not so common.
Right. Be the master of that field.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I agree, shoulder is not even a ball and socket joint. It's just said it's ball and socket. It's so hollow. How is it supposed to be ball and socket? It's super hollow.
Right. Yeah, it's a golf ball and a tee. It's not a socket.
My teachers are gonna kill me if they hear this, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. And what if they want to start their own practice? And how do they start their own practice? How they go about that?
Oh, how they go about that? Well, I did it differently where I found at the seminars that I was going to, I found an acupuncturist that was like-minded, and she needed a chiropractor, and I was able to go into the business, and she referred people to me. All I had to do was prove that I was good. So, and that's how I got here. So, I would say, obviously, you need to be good at adjusting, but bedside manner is key too, and I think that's overlooked too much. You can't just like get into somebody's space without like first establishing like who you are and what you're trying to do. But as far as getting back to your question, the starting the practice, it's I mean, I've seen people do it different ways where they go into a gym where they go into another chiropractor space. Like I did that too. I post-septored after school at the Athlete's Advantage. So basically you use their license to be able to practice and until you get yours. And so that way there's a lot of practices that come up for sale, and I've seen people do that too. One of my cohort, he does a technique, Gonstead, and he bought a practice that was like generic or just chiropractic with just adjusting, and then he basically showed them the technique and they loved it, and so he blew up that practice and it made it even better. So there's that way too. It's there's a lot of different ways to do it. I wouldn't say there's a right way, but that it's very versatile, and that's why I love it too. So
Yeah, just don't miss an opportunity.
yeah, right. I mean, even like multidisciplinary, that was my kind of goal. I like to get along with other providers, and so like I play well with others. So that's like my ultimate goal is to find or either open or find a place that a multidisciplinary place that we could be in, and create a bigger practice where it's not just the chiropractor, it's not just an acupuncturist, it's like all.
Yeah, I think that's a dream that everyone. Let me know if you need a PT.
Yes.
I'll
Yes.
definitely bring up ideas, people. My gardening kit.
Yeah. Yes. That's fantastic. Yeah. So definitely collecting people along the way, and you'll be in the arsenal.
Definitely. Well, if everyone here wants to find you on social media, where do they look up to you?
Epic Spine Solutions is the handle. That's yeah.
I'll tag you in, and we'll put all the information. Thank you so much for removing the time out today and missing your kids' good night and here with me. But it was such a fun session.
Oh yeah, no, this was great. I enjoyed this. This was fun.
Yeah, I loved it. We talked about so many topics that I never expected we would touch.
Right? Yeah. No, we
Lymphatic.
weren't struggling for things to talk about, which was good.
Yeah, I love that. That means it was a successful session.
I agree.
Well, I hope we do many more projects together and many more sessions together in future. I love talking to you, and it was a great session. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Have a wonderful night. Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to our talk about health. You can follow me on Instagram at bhavna.devnani, on Facebook at bhavna devnani, and we'll leave all the information in the description below. Thank you.